picks up nice. So
Sit where you can get up easy. Why don't you sit up in the front?
see if you can fit this over your ear with your hearing aids on. That's new.
Oh, this is new. Huh? Anybody clean it off?
I have no idea who used it or what. This goes behind your ear, like that.
Let's slide that out. We got a hello.
It's on. That's what I said.
Testing 1, 2. Can you hear that? All right.
That's wonderful.
Testing 3, 4, 5. Can you hear that? All right. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You want to have a little higher, don't you, or not? Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Julie, you want the agenda, or did you have one out of here?
I probably have one that I printed out, but wheel locks don't lock.
Yeah. All right, I'm supposed to say something nice. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear that all right? Testing. Does it sound all right? This is tough for an old guy. I got my hearing aid in here, and I get this is way too complicated, you know? That's right. You get the. We get the hook. Well, I've purposely kept my stuff short. So, all right, let's get going here. It's just going to turn to 7 o'clock by Verizon time. So thank you all for coming for this. And by the way, we're throwing not a curve, but we're getting some more systematic way to organize our meetings. One of the things we discovered is when we'd have these meetings the last Sunday of the month, sometimes they were held before the board meeting, sometimes they were held after, depending. So we decided from now on, let's hold the report the Sunday after the meeting. That makes sense. Now, what doesn't it doesn't fit the calendar so well, like this month. The February meeting was at the end of February, so the first Sunday is March. So in March, on the 1st, and there's 5 Sundays, and the 29th, we'll have board reports following 2 board meetings. And in April, we won't have one because the next Monday is the annual meeting. So we'll announce them as they go. So every time there's a board meeting, we'll have a report to the members. So we've got a lot of stuff tonight. You should have a couple of things in your hand. One is this handout that had the agenda for our board meeting last Wednesday. It has a little diagram on the back, so you'll see that. And the other one is a 1-page handout with 2 sides about the replacement reserves from our treasurer. So you should have 2 things in your hand. Make sense? You got them? All right, very good. So let's just take a peek at that board agenda. We had a long day last Wednesday. We started we rolled in about 8:15. We rolled out about 12:30. We rolled back at 2. We rolled out about 4:30 in the afternoon again. So it was a long day. So we're sending in our overtime. But it was a long day, but it was a really good day. And one of the things we did on this really good day, if you note at the bottom, we broke at a noon hour, or about 12:30, and in the afternoon, we had 2 major reports, and we adopted two resolutions here on the Ad Hoc Committee on Art and the North Plaza Ad Hoc Committee. I want to tell you, first of all, I want to give thanks to our colleague, Roger Johnson. Roger I don't know how I got him talked into being the chair of both of those task forces, but he has done an admirable job. And I want, first of all, to say thank you publicly to Roger, and I want to give him a hand from us board. So the first thing we want to do is talk about the North Plaza update and what we decided on, and Roger's going to make a presentation about that. So let's bring down the screen, and we'll get this stuff over here out of the way. You want to look at the back part of the colored portion of your agenda page, and you can take a peek and see what you got. You want me to move that stuff for you, Carol?
I'm going to be right here.
Okay. I'll get this stuff out of the way here. Your mic got to get on, Raj. Now try her.
Okay. Am I blocking the view? Okay. How's that? Is that better? Okay. Thank you. Are we set to go?
Yep.
All right. He didn't twist my arm too hard. I just wanted you to know that. But to begin with, I want to thank our committee members, because we had a great committee who did a very fine job, I believe. And they are Carol Alden, who's also our secretary, and tonight, my tech support. So she's doing double duty. Alice Holzer, Rianne Leaf, Kathy Lindquist, and Glenn Wallace. Great committee. And I also want to thank Michael Ordorf, our property director. He supplied us with amazing assistance all along this process. Our committee worked with him closely. We examined vendors of furnishings for outdoor use, and we concluded after that examination that By the Yard was the best vendor that we could possibly use. Their products are maintenance-free, color-fast, they're weather and wind-proof, and they do not need to be stored in the winter, so they can be left out all year long. In addition, they have a 15-year warranty, which was important. We visited the By the Yard factory, the whole committee, and we toured the factory and looked at all their products to make sure that we were making the right choice. And that tour proved to be very valuable. We made a couple of changes after seeing the furniture. But it was our impressions of By the Yard were confirmed that they are the best vendor for us. We believe we have provided for an inviting North Plaza that our members will enjoy for years to come. They will be able to dine outdoors, gather around a raised table fire pit, which I think you'll find interesting when you see it. There are gaming tables for chess and checkers. There's a cornhole game that will be out there for you to use. There are many chairs and tables that will enable you to socialize and meet with your friends and have an enjoyable time. We've got several colorful umbrellas to shade you from the sun and also look appealing. And there's going to be a number of flower boxes providing beautiful flowers to make a great atmosphere for you. So now we have a PowerPoint that Carol is going to help with. And the first thing I guess you're going to see up there is that diagram. You all should have a copy of that. And you can see that we are providing tables outside the York Room for you to dine out of doors. There are 2 large tables and 4 smaller ones to the left of the diagram. There's a circle of chairs to the right to provide for groups that enjoy meeting and discussing and getting together. That yellow piece right above the circle is the gazebo. We're looking at a wood gazebo. It has a metal roof. It'll withstand a 100-mile-an-hour wind, and the roof will hold 6,700 pounds of snow, which we hope we don't get. But just to the north of that, there's another circle, and that's, at that time, we thought the fire table was going to be round, so that's a round with a circle of chairs. But we found, when we visited By the Yard, a rectangular table with a long fire in the center of the table that can be regulated higher or lower was the best table they had. So we ordered the rectangular table instead of the round one. You'll see some black, oh, you're moving on. Some black boxes, those are the planters for the flowers. The cornhole is way up in the upper left corner. And then I think that's pretty much it. There are a couple extra tables. Okay. Thank you. So we wanted furnishings that wouldn't blow away in the wind or fade in the sunshine. We got them. Furnishings that have sturdy and durable materials. By the Yard is made from recycled milk jugs. And the color is all the way through. So even if you were to saw one of the pieces in half, the color would be all the way through it. It wouldn't be a different color in the center. Got to be comfortable. We sat in them. They were comfortable. They're not the Adirondack chairs where you feel like you're sitting on the floor and have trouble getting up when you want to stand up. They're the dining table height chairs. It's practical yet pleasing by design. There's going to be multicolors in the furniture itself. The umbrellas are going to be multicolored as well, so it'll be colorful out there. Then we're going to be able to accommodate diners and card players, and the chairs and tables will be outside the York Room for the first time, I believe. Carol, are you going to the next one? Oh, you see that red box way at the top in the upper right? I think if you hit that, it will be full screen. You get rid of that banner. I believe that's what Michael told me anyway. Yeah, the red box way in the upper right. Yeah. He said if we hit that, it would go full screen, but maybe not. Maybe not. Okay. Not working? Okay. Okay, I believe, let's see, this is a shot. Oh. How about, do you have the fire table on there? Oh, well, we can stop. There's the fire table. It's rectangular, and the fire goes in the center, and it has a glass protection around it, and you can adjust the height of the fire. So if we have more than one row of people sitting around it, the fire can go higher so everyone can appreciate it. How about showing some of that furniture on the left? There's a round table that'll go between the chairs around the fire table for people to set glasses on or whatever they have. Want to show a chair? That is a swivel chair that we're going to have several of, for you, especially in the dining area where you can swivel the chair left or right to get out of the chair so you don't have to push it way back from the table. What have you got? Have you got the bar right below there? Yes. Portable bar will be in the dining area outside the York room. Also, it can be moved and used for the barbecue or other outdoor events for storing whatever we need to store inside it. There's the trash receptacles. We'll have several of those spaced around the North Plaza. There's the privacy planter that'll be around Ken DeFore's unit to give him some privacy on his patio out there. And those are some examples of planters that we're going to be using. Both coming out, when you come out from the lobby, there'll be some planters directing you into the North Plaza. There'll be planters, a different size planter, offsetting the dining area from the rest of the plaza. We have the price list, but we won't go over that. That's too much detail that you need tonight, I think. So, does anyone have any questions? Oh, by the way, we'll have all of this in time for the warm weather. It only takes them 2 weeks to manufacture our entire order once we put the order in, so we've got plenty of time to get it made before the warm weather hits, but we hope to have it ready sometime in April so that if we do get an early spring, you'll be able to get out there and enjoy the North Plaza. Any questions? Yes, Bob.
I'm curious about the grill.
Hold up for the mic.
The grill.
Oh, yes, the grill. We're going to have the grill, and we're going to purchase 2 mats to put under the grill so that when the grill's out there, there won't be any grease drippings or anything that could possibly harm our new Puma surface on the North Plaza. We're also contemplating a 60-inch TV on a cart. So if there are particular events, like a football game, for example, that people would like to watch on TV, we'll have that available as well. So, okay.
I wanted to ask, are we going to be able to have concerts out there?
Yes, we will be able to have concerts. The furniture is movable, which, you know, and the other nice thing is we won't have to move these chairs out there from the, here in the CAC any longer because we'll have enough chairs out there. We just have to move them.
Super. Question over here.
Over there. Another question coming up.
Roger, tell us about the umbrellas. Are they umbrellas that you put up, meaning?
They're umbrellas that will, they go in the center hole of the table,
Yes.
and once they're open, they'll cover most of the table.
Okay,
And we had looked at, when we first started this, we thought cantilever umbrellas would work. We found out these umbrellas that fit in the hole in the middle they cover as much of the table as we need, and they don't require space on one end. A cantilever umbrella has a stand on one end of the table that goes up and over.
Right.
Takes up a space where someone could be sitting, and these are far superior to those, so we're very happy with them. They're going to be multicolored. I think on the diagram you could see some of the colors that we picked out, not all of them, but I think we've got 8 different umbrellas with all variable colors that match.
how can a woman, take away the how, can a woman put the umbrella up and
Yes,
down?
I think so. I don't
Without-
think that'll be a problem.
Do you know what the diameter is of the table that these are on? The reason I'm asking, we've had umbrellas out there before that have been stuck in the middle of a table.
Yes.
And the wind was really rough on them, and women could not put them up or take them down. And so I just hope that whatever you've selected
Yeah.
is somewhat easy to operate.
We didn't have a problem operating them by the yard, so I'm hoping that, holds true here. I can't promise you, I guess, that anybody and everybody will be able to do it, but most people should be able to, I believe.
So you can do it standing, a woman could do it standing at the edge of the table, reach up.
That's what we did it by the yard, so
Okay.
I'm anticipating that'll work.
How,
What?
Mechanism.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think they were, weren't they? Oh, we don't have a picture of an umbrella, do we? Anyway, I can find out and get back to you, though. Okay, we don't have one. All right.
how many chairs are envisioned for being out there and being ordered?
How many chairs are we putting out there?
Yeah.
72. Plus, there are some extra dining chairs. So what are we? 84 total chairs. I mean, if we had a big enough crowd and we had to get more chairs, we can use these chairs from in here. But we're anticipating that should handle most cases, I think, most situations. Yes.
What is the maximum number of people that can restaurant eat outside at one
There'll
time?
be 2 tables of 8 each. That's 16. And then,
16.
4 tables of 4, so that's another 16. So 32 in all.
I really love a high table and higher chairs, so people just call it a bar table. I don't think it has anything to do with drinking. I think it has to do with the comfort of people who do not want to sit on their heels.
Okay. We're using standard dining height, so we don't have any low chairs or low tables really. We looked at some low tables or low chairs originally, and we decided they were too hard to get out of. Any more questions? Yeah, we did sit in all the chairs, and we picked out the ones that were comfortable. We avoided the ones that were not. So that was one of the benefits of our visit to By the Yard. I can tell you that Glenn was very interested in having comfortable and easy to get out of chairs, so he really sat in every one of them, I think. So. Okay, anything else?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Very good. You want to run, somebody needs to run this around when we need it, so. All right, yeah, Gene, you're coming next. So, by the way, just thank you, Roger. Folks, we're going to have to practice at this, and we'll see how it goes. We're going to set stuff out there. We'll figure out how it works. It works to the best. It's not going to be perfect. We'll have to work with the dining room folks. They've got to figure out how we can handle a number of people and how they're going to do that, because it'll be a little more complicated. But, but I want to appreciate this. This is part of the whole project for the North Plaza. All the furniture and all the fixings and all this on here is going to run us, the bill is about a little over $80,000. That was it's in the reserve, so we've got the money ahead of time, and the Finance Committee has given us the okay on that. But we're going to have to practice, and we'll see. And Ann, your point about the umbrellas is a good point. We'll have to figure that out. And the rest of us will have to work together to see what works best as we go along. So nothing's complete until we get her done, and we'll keep working at it until we get it figured out. And we'll have to watch where the patterns of the sun come. You know darn well in the middle of the afternoon, some of that place is just hotter than blazes out there. But some of it on the sides, we'll be able to get some nice shade. About 2.5 years ago, when we did the survey about what people wanted on the North Plaza, they said two things. They wanted to look nice, and they wanted to be able to sit down and visit out there. We think we've easily accomplished that.
Another meeting of the committee next week, so if there are any questions.
If you've got some questions for Roger and the committee, write them down, give Roger a buzz, or send him an email or something. So one of the things that we figured out, and some folks have already inquired, could we help out and maybe we can buy something that's needed out there. And I always smile at that, because that's the cooperative thing. And that's why I asked Gene to come tonight, just give us a little update on the giving committee and hear what those folks are up to. And this is a way that we all pitch in and can do some help as we go along. So, Gene, what do you got for us to pay attention to?
Okay. Thank you, Rich. Just to bring you up to date, it was about a year ago that we had a gentleman from Ebenezer come over and talk to us about the possibility of having a fund that would be tax deductible. And as a result of that, there were questions. We followed up with a question and answer period with Brandon Brannigan, and ended up looking at whether or not we should be a part of that foundation with Ebenezer. And I think it was late summer, early fall, the board made the decision to be a part of it because there were some other features of that fund that were available. But as far as the giving committee, we met probably for about 2 or 3 different committee meetings and ended up with the conclusion of coming up with a giving committee, which resolved and it dissolved both the resident committee and the legacy committee. And so as of the end of December, the board had passed our charter and on the giving committee, and so we were up and functioning. But we still had some questions, and that's why I was appreciative of Rich just inviting me to be here and maybe share a little bit, but to also take any questions you may have. So if you looked at the latest York Times, on page 11, there was an article there that talked about the giving committee and the procedures. And basically, the way I looked at it, there were really only 2 changes. One, we moved 2 committees into one, and the other one, we added a tax deductible feature to it. And so if there were people that were giving or wanted to give major gifts and wanted the tax deductible feature, that they could do that. And the other part of it would be for many of the people like myself that have IRAs and we have mandatory distribution, people could actually use that to give it to the Ebenezer Foundation, to the 7500 York account. And so very simply, the 2 changes anyway that came up. And so we have envelopes now, if you've noticed them there on the table by the mailbox, that are set up. And the choice on there are still the choices that we used to have. Nothing has changed on that. They still have what's known as the Residence Committee that would be able to give to committees and other functions here. And then there would be the Legacy Committee. And then the third one would be if you wanted to give to the Ebenezer for a tax deductible fund. So the 2 choices anyway, the giving committee will be able to, I think they've cleaned up the process. We had problems before with both committees where sometimes when people would write a check and we didn't always get the information on the check. And so what's happened now, part of our procedure is that the giving committee will open up the box that's located on the counter next to the blue box. They're outside the office. Our people will open it up. They will look at the envelope and see where the money is to go, and we will have 3 different worksheets, one for residents, one for Legacy, and one for Ebenezer. And we will make the notation there, and then the way the process is set up, we put it back in the envelope and put it in the blue box, and then Jake is going to open it up and use it. So what happens is we should have a permanent record, and we will know, and we can write the thank you notes and things immediately because we will have all the details. And so if something happens like we've got, I can think of one person who wrote a check back last fall, and the check has never been cashed, and we don't know where it is. And so when that happens, it shouldn't happen anymore. And so we're up and running. I think the process, is described on the article that you have in the York Times, and also there's an informative sheet out on the table near the envelopes. And so I guess I would open it up at this point. Are there any questions on the process on what we're doing? That's good news. I appreciate that. So hopefully we've answered it.
Gene, I want to tell you and thank you and your committee. These folks have really worked hard to take the old Legacy Fund group and the resident fund and meld those together. That's a hard-working bunch of people. They've done really good stuff. And just a reminder, just good things. Out of the blue, when we started that Legacy Fund, one of our members left us a nice IRA,
Right.
over $100,000 and some $1,000. I've noticed in the old resident fund, one of our former board chairs left part of his estate. Now, I'm not dead yet, but you never know what's going to happen.
We're hoping.
Yeah, that's right.
Not that you're dead.
I knew that. All I'm just saying is that these folks will help us think more about how can we come underneath and provide some key things for programming, and as well as just hardcore stuff that we can use that won't really be
Okay.
yeah.
So can I share with them
You
one of
bet.
the questions that we raised for
Sure.
the board? So one of the requests that came out of a committee member said, young people don't write a lot of checks anymore. They use credit cards for everything. And so we're looking at the possibility, if people wanted to donate for memorials or whatever anyway, that they could possibly use a credit card. That entails, we'll have to revamp the envelope to do that, obviously, yes. And it requires more work by the staff anyway to do that anyway. But we're continually looking at, and the pamphlet, we used to have a pamphlet for the Legacy and the resident committee. That pamphlet is in the process of being redone, but we were down the list. We were requiring some staff help on that, and it requires a little bit more time. So we're hoping maybe in May or early June to have the pamphlet out there. But I think right now anyway, all the information that's needed if you want to make a gift is there. Yep. So thank you.
If you want to be generous, you could make it happen. and these folks will help you. And that leads us, one of the reasons why we're so busy these days, that leads me to my next topic, which is coming up the volunteer fair in March, now on March 11th. Those of you who are on the RAC committee and the other have done this over the years know that that's a very important date for upcoming for the community. So I just want to lift that up to you. It's an opportunity for us to look through all the committees and areas that we might like to serve on and be a part of. So we'd like you to take a look at that and just have that in your mind. Now, one of the challenges we've got as structures ebb and flow, and as sometimes champions go away. We've had one of our subcommittees was a committee that just wasn't functioning. Nobody would take the leadership. That's always a challenge and a problem. And we've got committees that don't always fit the mold. So we decided there was enough questions. We said we need to start thinking about a policy so everybody follows at least we have some structure for our committee. So Rianne has been working on that. And as part of the policy committee, we've had her working in her group from the board. They've been working on a number of policy things over the last couple of years, way too many things going on. Who's got the mic? You got the mic, Dave? I want to give the mic for Rhiann here. She's going to tell us a little bit about the work she's up to with the committee stuff.
Okay, thanks, Rich. For the past year and a half, the policy committee has reviewed and updated the 20 policies that existed. So all the old policies have been updated. Now this year we're starting on those areas in our activities that have not had policies, and there are lots of areas. One of the first ones that we're tackling is committees and interest groups. And so I appreciate the opportunity to share with you what the board discussed last Wednesday from our first draft of the policy. And the volunteer fair, March 11th, is a very important day because that's the day you all get to sign up for the committees that you think you'd like to be a part of. And we'd encourage you to think of more than 1 or 2 committees. If there are 3 or 4 that you're interested in, you can sign up for them. However, you can only serve 2 committees. You can be on a standing committee and a regular committee, or you can be on 2 regular committees, but that's all. So if you sign up for 3 or 4, and all of them are eager to have you on their committee, you're going to have to look at which are your 2 favorites and sign up for those, and then let the other 2 committees know that you decline. Now, the challenge for committees is always to get enough members to fill out the number of people that they need to be able to do all the duties of the committee. And so what happens after the volunteer fair sign-up is that every committee gets a list of everybody who signed up for that committee. And then during March and April, the committees can look at that list. Hopefully, they've had enough people sign up to fill out their committee needs. Now, if they're really lucky and they've had many more people sign up than they need, then the board is advocating in its new policy that the current committee, we could call them the old committee, but current committee sounds better. The current committee, at least a quorum of them would meet, go over the list, and select the people they would like to invite to be on their committee. And then they would notify those that they're declining. It's a wonderful problem for a committee to have, actually. We'd hope that every committee has more people sign up than they can actually use. But that's how the board is going to recommend that work, that the quorum of the current committee meet in April to pick the people that they want to have serve on the committee, because they know what kinds of particular skills might be needed or what particular talents might be needed. So the other thing is that the month of April then becomes the time when the committees really solidify themselves. And then they meet in May and they organize, get their officers and so forth. The other question that has come up is, what about if there's a vacancy on the committee during the year? Well, that's where it's handy for the committee to save the list of people who were interested, because they can perhaps call on one of those. But the way it will work for people who are asked to fill a vacancy is if they come on board to the committee between the beginning of the committee year, May 1st, and 6 months later, October 31st, they will be considered as serving their first year on the committee, because you only have 3 years that you can serve on a committee. But if they fill the vacancy after November 1st, the latter half of the year, that won't count as the first year. Now, have I got you thoroughly confused? Okay. So, are there any questions about, this is basically the months of March and April. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can we put a plug in for ArtCom? It's a brand new standing committee.
Very good.
We do have two new standing committees. One is the Giving Committee that Jean is
filled,
chairing.
aren't you? They're
Yep.
filled.
They're filled, and they're going to be able to continue going since they're a brand new one. But there's another standing committee called the ArtCom Committee that I'm sure Roger will be explaining later. And they
Well,
will be.
he's not going to tonight, but what we're
Oh,
going to say
okay.
is, watch for that. If you're interested, we have a whole new process by which a group is going to start and help us organize the art program here at 7500 York. If you would like to be a part, if you've got some skills in that area, and I think it's not just skills, interest. You better have some interest. You can sign up to be in that roster of potential candidates at the volunteer fair. Right, right. Yep, there's a question back here.
The Gateway Committee is a new committee, but that's a RAC.
That's a regular
That,
committee.
that will come out of,
That's a
that's a
RAC
RAC subcommittee.
Yeah, that's
and
not
that's
a
great,
standing
that's an
committee.
important task. I worry, one thing that worries me is we got a lot of stuff going. Do we have enough horsepower? Do we have enough people who can chair committees? One of the things I notice when I go to committees, nobody wants to take the minutes, right? I mean, everybody's afraid of being the secretary. And so the chair and the secretary of committees are really important. So, but yes, that Gateway program will be a wonderful way that will mentor new residents coming in. Yep. There's a question way in the back there. There, Julie's got a mic going back there.
My question is, this is very important, but why was there no announcement about the fair in both the bulletin and the little thing we got? There was nothing on that date.
Say that again?
It's not on the calendar. The calendars that we get,
Oh, the March calendar?
yeah, there was nothing. But again, there was nothing there.
You're going to get a great big pamphlet this week, a whole handout about the fair coming up. So they didn't make a big deal out of it in the newspaper.
It's on the bulletin board notices.
Yeah.
One more question here.
What about electing the board?
Say again, Bob.
What about the election of the board?
I'm going to say a couple words about that.
Thank you.
And let me just finish up by saying that the policy for committees and interest groups, we'll be working on that in March and April. It's not done. We've just begun. And because it's a new policy, it's requiring a lot of thought and discussion. Thank you.
Bob asked about election of board members. I want to thank the nominating committee. They've been working very hard and putting together a slate of candidates. We will have at the end of the month in March. Let's see. Yes, in March we will have the candidates who have offered to move forward in the process to be here in front of you to introduce themselves, talk a little bit about that. Then we'll also have the candidate forum where they'll, in the middle of April, where they'll talk to us all, and we'll have some questions for them. So we don't know for sure about if everything is if the ballot is complete yet, but I do know that we have 3 spots that are open. Normally, every 3 years we rotate the board, and I think we've got at least 4 and hopefully more candidates coming. We don't know that yet, so we'll have an election that will come up. It's an important election. And people will start to vote about the middle of April, and then the ballots are complete just before the annual meeting on the first Monday of May, and we'll announce those. This is important. This is one of the most important things that the members do. is elect the people they trust to serve them on the board. This is a representative, this is like a a constitutional republic. You elect people, you give them the power, you designate them to act on behalf of the whole community. And that board position is a terribly important position. So I want you all to take that seriously. I want to thank all the people who are willing to move forward in the process. And the nominating committee will have a report coming pretty quick where all the candidates will be identified. So just a word about what happens. At the annual meeting then, there will be a group of folks whom the annual meeting will elect, who will be sent to count the ballots and determine which candidates will move forward as new members of the board. And the week of the annual meeting, on Friday or Thursday that week, there will be an organizational meeting. Every year, the board starts with a very clean slate. It comes into the 9 people who have been elected, the 6 who carry over, and the 3 new people who were either re-elected or newly elected. They come together and they elect their own officers. For the last 3 years, they've either been foolish enough or not so foolish to elect me to be the president for the last 3 times. Even though I have, now this is weird, but I'm taking my cue from my predecessor, George Sverdrup. Even though George had to, you could be on the board for 6 years. That's it. You get 6 years and you're out. So I will finish my 5th year at the annual meeting this year, and I'll have 1 year left, but I will not offer myself as candidate for president this year. Someone else will be elected. Who that is, I do not know. The people who are elected to the board will gather that first few days right after the annual meeting, and they will elect the officers for the board. I will be a backbencher in the Parliament of Life, and beyond that to be a regular board member. So it's been a pleasure and a joy mostly to do this job, but I'm glad, as my wife keeps reminding me, I can do it before I get too demented. That's really important stuff, So, I worry about that, really, because there's just a lot. I'm not as fast and as sharp as I used to be. I don't know I hope the rest of you are. But I'm not quite rolling along as I used to, and but it's been interesting, and I've enjoyed doing it, and I've learned an awful lot, more than maybe I needed to learn about, but it's been very interesting. So we'll have those candidates will show up pretty soon. There'll be something in your mailbox about instructions for how the ballot works, so that's the nominating committee's job, and they'll be bringing those names forward to us. All right. I want to talk about now leading to the future. When I first got on the board 5 years ago, we just said we need to update the place. So we've been working hard at doing all kinds of things system-wise. But we're also starting now something we should have done years ago. We've let things deteriorate in some areas, and we want to clean them up and make them much better. We have to start thinking about not just ourselves or looking to the past. We have to start thinking about the future, the people who will come after us. Most of the folks who will come after us will be bringing, when they come to board meetings or committee meetings, whatever, they'll be bringing a laptop with them probably. Instead of me, I bring tons of paper. That's old-fashioned, I know that. And other folks will be doing different things. We've been talking about upgrading the board of directors. We need more meeting space to upgrade the board room as well. And we're in the process of doing that in the former Stop and Shop. That's where we're at right now. And so I've asked Linda and Dave if they would bring us an update, let you know what we're moving forward to. And Linda will give you a good heads up, and I will add anything I can think of at the end of that. So, Linda, why don't you give everybody an update of where we're going and what's happening these days, all right?
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thanks. Wow, a full house. That's great. All right, so he gave a little clue as to what I was supposed to talk about. So after many months and much conversation and dialogue, the board has decided to take the space that was the Stop and Shop and make it the new boardroom. So, before you ask a question about that, what's going to happen to the boardroom, which is currently on the 3rd floor? That will become a general meeting room, and once we have made the move to the 2nd floor as a board, that 3rd floor room will be available for you to schedule for committee meetings, whatever else that you might want to use it for, just as you would for the social room, or what else can we reserve, the guest rooms, those kinds of things. So as Rich said, we're in dire need of more meeting space, especially when you try to get together the finance committee and the whole board, or the property committee and the entire board. They don't fit in the boardroom, but they will fit on the 2nd floor in that new space. So now you're probably wondering, why did we move the door? Well, the space inside that room is a little unusual in that there are soffits that hang down in several parts of the ceiling. And so instead of being able to walk in the door and have the table this way horizontally with the monitor on this wall, we needed to move the door over so that the table can run this way and that the monitor will be on the opposite wall from the door. Does that make sense? It's a 14-foot some odd length table that we're going to have, conference table, with a base that will also allow for us to move into the future, including all the technology things that we will need. There will be 3 areas in the conference room table where we can plug in, you can use an HDMI cord, you can plug in a USB, USB-C, whatever. And there will be a phone in case somebody can't meet by Zoom or in person. They'll be able to listen on the phone and contribute to a meeting. So the TV in the 3rd floor boardroom is going to stay there. There's no point in taking it down and moving it to the other space. It's not that expensive to get a monitor. Jake is working on the tech package for us, and he says the cost of having a monitor without all the bells and whistles that a smart TV has, which can be a little problematic sometimes, we don't need all of that. We need a screen so that we can project on the screen if we're having a meeting and we want to show documents or whatever else you want people to see while they're sitting in the room. So we'll have a monitor on the far wall. We'll have the 14-foot table. And the table, interestingly enough, it's like what they have over at Ebenezer. The one end of the table is smaller, and then it curves out, and it's bigger at the far end. So it goes like that. So that makes it easy for us to have 14 people sitting comfortably around that table. And right now, if we have people sitting at the boardroom table, we squeeze together to get 12 people in that room. So it's going to be a much better space for us to have our meetings. Committees can sign up to use the space. It will be primarily for the board and for committees to sign up to use. Later, if it's deemed necessary to use it as a room for other activities, that will be a possibility. But right now, it will be for the board and committees. And once that information is put into the base system, that's the Belay software where you go in and log in, put in a work order, or you sign up for the calendar, all those things will be in there when we're ready to go. But it's going to be a little while before it's done. We did select carpeting, and a few of us selected the carpeting and the paint for the walls. And we have some very nice, comfortable chairs. So if you think about the fact that we sat for almost 8 hours on Wednesday last week, it's going to be very nice to have chairs that are comfortable. So if we have to sit for that long, at least we won't be, wishing we could get up and run around the room. Okay, let's see if I left anything out. I don't think I did. Dave, do you have anything to add? Yeah. Always. Thank you. Of course he does.
Want me to take it from here?
Sure.
Yeah, the other benefit of using that room for the boardroom is we really were cramped for meeting space to the point that a lot of times the social room had to be booked for meetings, and then people couldn't use it as a social room. So this should actually free up the social room more for entertaining and other activities during the workday that we didn't have before. Okay, I'm here to talk about the replacement reserve. I gave you a handout because I was going to do a PowerPoint, and I figured that I would, A, bore you to death, and B, you'd forget everything I'd say after 3 minutes after I said it. So you can take this home as a reference for plugging your brain up with a lot of facts. No, actually, it's a good idea to understand our replacement reserve. This is how we save money for big expenditures that are not in the budget. These are usually for either replacing or adding new capital equipment here. And if we don't have enough money in the reserve, we have to face the nasty A word that starts with A and ends with assessment. So it's the intention of the cooperative to try to avoid set assessments by having enough money saved. I was visiting another cooperative a few weeks ago, and they had some major malfunctions in some of their equipment to the tune of $600,000, and they don't have enough in the reserve to cover it. That's why we have a reserve. Okay. This year we're funding, and I'm reading a little bit, but I'll try to skim through this. We're putting away $186,758 a month into the reserve, or $2.241 million this year. That's a budgeted amount that's taken out of what we pay in our monthly fees. This was developed using the Reserve Advisor's analysis of our needs to meet anticipated capital and replacement amounts for upcoming years. It's a lot of money, so how do we handle this money? We don't make the decisions on what stocks and bonds to sell. That would be suicidal to try to do that yourself, so we do that through a professionally managed company called Corient out of Chicago. They were recommended to us by Schwab, which is where we have our investments in 2 or 3 other funds, such as the Waitlist, the Legacy Fund, and the General Operating Reserve Fund. But the Reserve Replacement Account is the biggest one. They charge 0.85% for the first $3 million that we have in there, and 0.75% for the next $7 million. We haven't reached that amount yet. So usually if you're paying a company to manage your IRA or money market fund or money investments, you're usually paying 1% of the value. We pay a lot less than that. So we thank Schwab for steering us towards a quality investment company. Incidentally, I've only been here just short of 4 years. I'm not sure how they did the reserve, but when we refinanced the mortgage in 2021 to put in the new windows, they refinanced the mortgage to get the $7 million in equity, in money out of that. Part of that refinancing was to get out of the HUD-backed mortgage. HUD does not allow you to have any of reserves in equities. And if you know anything about investing, I know equities can have a degree of risk to them, but if you want to be safe and bury your money into a savings account for the rest of your life, it's not going to be worth a plug nickel. 10 years from now, you'll get $10 worth of interest on it. So we do need to have some amount in equities. When they did that in 2021, the Finance Committee oversaw a policy of how we're going to invest. This policy was readjusted last year by the Finance Committee and approved by the board. So roughly 50% of our reserve account is in fixed income. This is, for the most part, corporate bonds. They yield a little bit higher rate than T-bills and federal treasury bonds. That's what I'm thinking of. We've got about 40% in equities. This is stocks. And Corient invests in very conservative stocks. They don't turn our account to make a commission because we pay them a flat rate just to manage the funds wisely. They do a good job. And no one stock can be more than 10% of what we've got in the investments or the equities fund. We don't want to put all of our apples in one. What's that called? All of our eggs in one basket. Oh, Christ, I'm getting vegetables mixed up with eggs. And then finally, 10% in cash or cash equivalents. Cash equivalents would be money market funds, and ours are in a T-bill fund through Schwab. On the backside, we had Corient here last week. They went over our account, and they also talked about where the market is heading, and nobody ever knows for sure, but they gave us a good look about how they're investing our funds and why. They try to avoid risky stuff. Everything is very tech heavy now. Everybody's infatuated with AI, and we're not trying to chase the latest hot stock. So this is your money that is being invested, and we want to take good care of it. But if you want to know the equities portfolio, there's a listing of what we've got, not by stocks, but by categories on the top of page 2. The one column says what percent of our portfolio is in each area. For example, if you go down, we've got 14% in industrial type stocks, 27% in info technology. The next column is what the portfolio is in the Standard & Poor's index. In most cases, we are in line with what Standard & Poor's has by category, but in some cases we differ for that, and Corient explained to us why they do that. And again, it's mostly because people are chasing all these high-tech AI stocks and everything else, and they feel that things such as industrials are undervalued, so they're moving us more in some of those directions. The replacement reserve account is what I listed at the end, and I'm not talking about the window replacement project. This is all what's happened since then. At the beginning of 2021, we had 2,918,282. If you were sitting here in 2021, you'd say, damn, that's a lot of money. And it was, until you start looking ahead at what we needed to spend money on. If you look at the bottom of the page, it says the withdrawals over that 5-year period. 2021, we only spent $11,000 out of the reserve on capital work. That's nothing. That was Dream World. 2022, $23,222. That's nothing. 2023, gee, we went way up to $38,000. If you wanted to replace the van here alone, you'd be spending $140,000. So the money was there, but nobody had really started looking at where it was going to go. And that's when Reserve Advisors came in and helped us start listing what are all of the anticipated costs you're going to have over the next 30 years. We need $1 million for a roof in about 15 years. Where's that going to come from? It comes from the reserve plan. In 2024, all of a sudden, we went from $38,000 to $1.4 million. Well, the age of the building started to catch up with us. The garage was leaking like a sieve. There was waterfalls running down the wall in the boiler room that was risking shorting out computer equipment in the boiler room. We had to start spending money. And in 2025, $2,098,000. So it's important that we keep funding the reserves. So if you go back to the table, we started at $2.9 million in 2021. Through 2025, we put in $5.367 million into that fund. So good for us. We had the foresight to start putting money away. We also took out $3.594 million as listed at the bottom. By investing in corporate bonds and smart equity stocks, we've had $469,000 in income earned in interest and dividends. And thanks to equity investments, we've had over $700,000 in market appreciation. Any of you that have an IRA, what's the first thing you look at? Is my IRA going up or down? You want market appreciation. But keep in mind, we only are investing 40% of the reserve in equities. Just in case the market dips, we have the option to take expensive money that we need out of cash or corporate bonds. So it's a good investment program. Corient's an outstanding company. And if you don't have any questions, you can take this home and read it. Now, for those of you that are really interested in detail, each month in the board packet, which goes on the portal, I know you all read that board report cover to cover every month. In that, at the end of the financial section is a listing of all of our stocks and bonds that we own. So if you really want to know what you've got in there, this is your money. It's invested wisely, but if you want to check it out, that's where you could find the answers. Any questions?
I assume we skipped Bitcoin.
You bet. Wouldn't touch that with a... Yeah, and neither would Corient. Corient gave us a lot of talk about what things to not... They don't chase fads like that. It goes like this, and then let's guess what happens. Thank you.
David, thank you very much. Let's give him a hand. He's worked really hard. I want to talk to you briefly about should you happen to see me going to Leavenworth Prison, I want to talk to you about a matter that started out at 5,800, it's 97, and who knows where, 9,700. Hennepin County is going up and down the road out here on York, and they want a little bit of pieces of property because they're doing something on corners for we don't even know what the traffic stuff is going to be. They wanted to acquire by a permanent easement of 193 square feet, maybe about this much right here, on our little corner over here. Well, that came up in the late summer, early fall. We were in the middle of budget years. Nobody paid a lot of close attention. This is on me. So we thought, well, down the road we could get if we could get a little more. Let's see if we can get a little more. And we worked it up so we could get hopefully $9,700 for that matter. Well, we were getting ready to close that deal with Hennepin County, and all of a sudden we find out that our mortgage company, NCB, National Cooperative Bank in Washington, D.C., said in our documents, you can't do anything like that unless you go through their lawyers and the other guys, what do you call them, the Fannie Mae people. So right now we're in the middle of trying to get lawyers to talk to one another. So if you see something in the paper that 7500 York is going to have a default over $7,000 for 190 square feet. Don't be alarmed. I'm the only one who'll have to go to prison. They're going to condemn us. A number of other properties that people who didn't take the money, so this is one of those things that just sits under your saddle, and I apologize for not attending this better, and all of us do. We were working on millions, and we let that one slip through the deal. Now, what happened? The best part of this whole deal was, on the bright side, we had an issue last year with the IRS. They told us we owed them a bunch of money, and when we got our accountants and the people who do our audit on it, we got an $8,000 credit back from the IRS. How do you like them apples? So sometimes I worry about stuff, and I keep thinking it's like anything else. Don't let the small stuff weigh you down for the big stuff. So just make sure everybody understands that. I'm still thinking about that. It just drives me nuts. All right. One of our members, Kate, also wants to do a health care talk starting a little bit tomorrow. And I told Kate I'd just tell people you can talk with Kate after this meeting tomorrow at 3 o'clock. She wants to do a health care talk, and she's going to do it in the social room, so you can do that. Another one of our members sent this to me, and I wanted to share this. Someone was coming down off the elevator, and she said, in the past couple of weeks, I've experienced 2 unpleasant encounters with people who'd never crossed paths with me before. The one this past Monday, ironically, my 5th year at 7500 was especially rude and hostile, and I'd like to help others avoid that encounter. When people see an unfamiliar face, the appropriate position is not to scowl or assume they do not live here, but or who someone says, "Oh, you're one of those people who only come down for the mail late at night. We never see you." And I would suggest, she says, a smile and a friendly nod and a welcoming gesture might be a better way to do that. Huh? Just maybe to make a note about that. You have some quick questions that Sharon Barth has given us, and let's give Sharon her answers online here. And I've got one really important one about door flappers and wellness checks. So why don't you stand up here, Linda, and do that, please.
Sharon emailed me 3 questions to ask this evening. The first one is, will the cooperative have air conditioning while the boilers are being replaced? I don't think we know the answer, do we? We don't.
Well, yes, we'll have air conditioning. Yeah,
it's a different system. Let's hope so. The boilers can't be replaced until the weather gets a little warmer. It's not going to be a problem. No. Okay. All right.
We won't get at the boilers till maybe April, maybe May. We can't shut the old ones down until the heating season's over.
I know. All right. Right. I didn't think so either. The second question is, do we need fobs for security reasons, or we just want them? It seems to me, this is Sharon talking, that with the cameras at the outside doors and security staff at the front door, the need isn't that great. Also, the biggest security breach is at the garage doors, and fobs will not help that issue. Well, I don't know what you're going to say, but my first thought is we need the fobs for controlled access. We have a number of e-keys that are floating around. We don't know who has them, how many people have them. And one of the advantages in having the fobs is security can turn them off and turn them on. So if you leave the building and you don't remember to turn in your fob, they'll just turn it off. So it's the same kind of thing we did in the schools. We gave kids bus cards for the summer school. If they came to summer school, their bus card worked for anything else they wanted to do all summer. But if they didn't show up for class, gone. We shut them off. Did you want to say something else about that?
I'm
okay.
fine.
And the third question she's asking is, does the board have a minimum amount that has to be in the reserve account? How much will be left in the cooperative's reserve account after paying for 3 big projects, the boiler replacement, lobby and balcony, and fobs? Do you want to answer that, Dave?
There's plenty in there
Okay. Okay. We're always putting more money into the reserves, but we have money set aside for those projects that she's asking the question about. So, yes, all right, thank you.
Yes, that's an ongoing revision.
Right.
And one of the things you
Right.
saw that David said, we started with 2, we spent all that money to do the projects, and we still have 5. Now, that says something about wise investment. Now, the trouble with the market is you just never know, but that's an ongoing process. We keep studying it year by year and moving things around. So, yes, there will be adequate reserves as we can go.
And I didn't mention when I was talking to you about the boardroom and this and that, to say that we do have the money set aside for refurbishing the boardroom. So the fact that the Stop and Shop space will be the new boardroom, the amount that we're spending is around $31,000 or $32,000. We have $33,000 set aside for that refurbishment. So.
Okay. And like we're going to do with the North Plaza, we're also going to take that little by little. As Linda said, we're going to start with the board and all the committees and subcommittees. We figure 150 or so people on all these committees will use that room. What we're going to have is, we forgot to make the most important thing, we have a little water so you can make coffee. And the restrooms are right outside the door. I mean, that's an important thing for folks. And when we have guests in or whatever, we're gearing up for the future. And so just remember that. The final thing I want to get at tonight is, yes.
So if we're going to be using that new room for things other than the board, does it make sense to have, rather than one big table, to have more flexibility with the tables?
We talked about that.
Well, think about it.
Yeah, well, we talked about that, but we're going to go, there's still enough room around the edges. We're going to practice using the room. And then we're going to see how we can use it for other things and later on.
Rich, one
Yeah.
thing, if you've never been in the room, there's one problem with that room. There's a great big column,
right in the middle of it.
and depending on where you sit, you may not be able to see anybody else in the meeting. So it does limit it. But the nice thing about having the one big table is that there's plenty of room for side chairs. If you're having guests come in or another committee meet with you, there's plenty of room for extra people in there.
We will practice using that, and we'll see what kind of things we can do. But we're going to start small and work our way up the way. We've committed to a big table, that's correct. That's correct. Yeah, it's got the technology built right into it, so. Yes, all the electrical stuff is right inside the table, so you plug in when you come in. Yep. The last thing I want to talk about is flippers. Someone has asked, or a couple people approached our board members asking about the flippers on the door. What happens? I found out, and I hadn't realized this, they have 1 or 2 a day of people who do not respond, and they have to go back in and check on. Now, here's the understanding as how our management company thinks about this. When we have scheduled maintenance times we've announced, like these floor where we're going through, they went through our apartment, the guys did, and checked us all out and whatever. Yeah. When we have scheduled maintenance times and you're given a time that they're coming, our people can enter your apartment. They politely ask, they knock on the door, want to make sure you're home. If you're not home, they can come in, check it out, make sure it's all done. The flippers are a different matter. The flippers are a wellness check. And here's the problem from the management companies and the employees. We do not do wellness checks in this building. But here's what happens. If that flipper stays up, and by noon or 1 o'clock when they make their rounds, if that flipper is still up, 2 things happen. You bang on the door, And if that doesn't respond, somebody doesn't respond, you call and try to get them to answer the telephone to let them know that they haven't opened their door and there's a flipper. In the old days, if that was the case, they would probably, somebody from security would just open the door and go in. Our management company tells me at this time, the way they think about this in terms of liability for their employees is the process is going to be if nobody opens the door, if nobody, after pounding on it or getting a call, you'll get a call, all right, but we'll have the first responders from Edina in your apartment to check and see if you are there or you need some help. They want first responders in here from the outside, health people who are making the wellness check, not their employees. So there's a difference between going in for maintenance and going in for wellness. That's how I understand it right now. Now, we may want to have them rethink that. If that doesn't make sense, I kind of think it does. You don't have much lag. You got maybe 5 minutes at the most lag time, because by the time you call the fire department, those guys are here real quick. And that seems to work pretty fast, or the ambulance people. But the issue is whether it's a scheduled maintenance, they can go in for that, but they cannot go in for wellness checks. So the Edina Fire Department and the police department will be doing that as they come into the building. Questions about that? What is meant by a flipper? That's the thing on your door. At night, when the crew comes around in the middle of the night, they put the flipper up, and by the morning, by what time do we tell people? By 10 o'clock or so, you should have opened your door, so it shows that you are awake and available. Well, you go home tonight, and you look on your door, and you'll see it. You'll see it, Mike. It's easy to see. It's just a little piece of plastic. And if you don't open your door in the morning, it sits there. And by 1 o'clock or noon, if you haven't opened that door, then we will bang on your door, give you a call, or first responders will be brought in. So you need to do that.
I don't understand what is meant by fob either.
Fob it's like a electronic key. It's a little like when you start your car, and it's a little piece that you click and the thing turns on. Who's got a fob on their hand? There's a fob. There's a fob for his little car. It's electronic. That's a fob.
We don't call it that, but we know
What do you call it in England? Don't know.
It's been a while.
Yeah. But this is a fob, and this will open the door.
We just call it a car key.
Yeah, well, it is a car key. Who has a question back here? We have a question. Send the microphone in here.
I have had the experience where I've left town on the weekend. I've gone down and told security before I left town, and the next day about
You got a call?
11, 12 o'clock, I'm in a grocery store, and I get a call.
I thought you were going to say you were lying on the beach and you got a call.
Well, that could be possible.
Yeah, we've got to make sure, as we all tell them when we're going to be gone, that was a mistake, hopefully, but how they're going to cover that one, that's a good question. I do not
It's
know.
only happened twice.
Yep.
They don't always read their book because they did that to me too.
That has happened. Yep. Well, who's paying for them now? They're over here all the time. It's part of your tax dollars at work. We're not having, you do wonder, all these senior buildings, as many times as the ambulance and the fire guys show up, you got to wonder how long they're going to keep doing it just on the dime of our tax money. That's really a good question. Well, the ambulance, but I mean, when they come for lifting or whatever, there's no charge on that. So that's part of our taxes in Edina that we're doing.
How much farther away is the new fire station?
It's just about a mile over here on the other side of 6 blocks. Yeah, not far. Takes them. I can't be less than right over here, but it's not very long.
4 minutes.
Yep. That's a key. I just got to tell you, I can't. Some people have said to me, Rich, that's why I came here. I want those flippers up. I want to know. I don't want to lay there, and if I died, I don't want to lay there. You know, and I thought, well, that makes sense. You know, we all fear that kind of stuff, don't we? I mean, so we got to make sure we're doing this right. But just know that there's a distinction now between scheduled maintenance stuff and wellness checks. That's the key issue. We're not in that the management company is not into the wellness check business. When we had our own employees, when they were employed by us, it was probably crazy for us to let them in to do that, but that's what they did for the longest time. So we're also independent living. That's right. Just think about if you lived in your own house, how would you handle it? You know, that's exactly how you have to think about it. All right.
Just a question. So if you pull the chain on your emergency there, they're going to send for the police or somebody?
Well, if you pull the chain, they're coming to see what's going on. Yeah, that's the best thing. But you know, sometimes if somebody has a heart attack or a fainting spell, they may not be near the chain. You know, that's always a question. But that's a concern by everybody's. So let's be vigilant about that. Keep that in mind as we're going down the road. Okay. All right. Holy cow! It's 8:30 already. Time to go. Robert's waving me out here. All right. Thanks everybody. Thanks for coming down tonight. We appreciate it.